Yeah. Welcome everybody to Foundations of Programming Day 7. Today we're going to pick up from where we left off yesterday, which is continuing with the Pokemon exercise. To start off today, we have Thomas here demonstrating what he was working on, and we are going over some CSS and how to better orient our elements within this program. So currently, we are trying to separate the get button or get Pokemon button, the input, the checkbox, and type into one column with the name of Pokemons and the Pokemon in a different column. And we want to mess around with some flexbox to see how we can make two columns side by side to have it nice and formatted here. So cool. I see here, Thomas, you got the border for the left side column and the right side column. The left is black and the right is pink. Awesome. Now, the we want to make sure that this column and this column are side by side, right? Now, to do that, we need to use Flexbox. Now, the question is, where do we apply the Flexbox change? Well, because this is the content that we need to align left and right, we need to talk to its parent class to align these together. Well, the parent class that's holding both of these columns is going to be this div right here called container that you have. So we're going to want to manipulate the container to align the left column and the right column side by side. So within your CSS, I want you to access the class of container. Remember, the class we have to initiate with the period. And the very first property value we're going to give it is going to be, we're going to change the display and we're going to set it to flex. By default, flex is going to arrange stuff as you see here. Actually, it's very interesting. So it looks like it's setting them up from left to right. So let's try to mess around with the direction. So on the next slide, let's change the flex direction. And let's do something like row. Okay. Maybe column. Switch it back to column. I'm trying to see how it's seeing this. Okay. So here's the column, and we had it set to row, which is fine.
Is it because I also have my H1 set to flex?
H1
Which
set to
is this
flex.
one.
Who's that Pokemon? No, I don't think so. Um, no, that should be fine. Where's the H1 at? H1 is inside the dev container. Oh, okay. That's an issue. Um, this, yeah. I want you to get rid of this for now. We'll talk about how we're going to do that one. Just comment that part out. We're adding an additional piece to this. That's why it looks like that. Whoa. There we go. It's the fact that you got two divs side by side and they're all next to an H1 header, so it's giving you some weird functionality. Yes. But the H1 having flex wasn't the issue. It's the fact that it's in the same level as the other columns, which is not ideal. Ideally, well, I'll show you how it should look like in a bit. But all right, so right now we have the column on the top and the column on the bottom. So it's right now set a little weird. This is not really how we want to do this. Let's go ahead and remove this flex direction. It might put it back to how we expected it to be, which is going to be side by side. Awesome. Let's go ahead and set the container. Or we could justify the content to be spaced evenly. So do justify content. Do something like space evenly or space between. And we can put some space between both of these. See how this works. Okay. Um, so what's probably happening here is this image is naturally trying to take up 100% of the space it's able to. And this might be messing up what's happening with how it's aligning. So how about we limit the restriction of this column, the right column, and we're going to set it to 50%, the width and the height. So on the right column, let's go ahead and do width is equal to, or set it to 50%. And then I want you to do the same thing for the height. We could probably do the same thing to it. Mm, mm, mm. And let's take off the height actually.
Should it be
Uh,
view height and view width, or
no, not view height or view width. We might want to adjust the image size. So in the image size here, do something like width 100%. There we go. Okay, so what did I just do right now? All right, the right column, you set the width to only take up 50% of the container that it is within, right? What container is it in right now, Thomas? The
container?
right column. Right, the container class. You have it inside of here. So it's only ever going to take 50% of that container, right? And then we said image should be 100% of the width. So it's going to take 100% of the container. Where is the image at? And what container is it in?
The right call?
Right column. So although image, we have it set for the width to be 100%, 100% of the container is only 50% of the other one. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it is absolutely taking up 100% of the right column, but the right column is only 50% of the container. So we're setting different limitations at different levels here. Before I move forward, welcome, Danny. We have a second person new here today. So today we have, I'm sorry, I'm butchering it. Visi, is that how you say it? Maybe he stepped out. Well, we have two new students today.
Sorry, yes.
Okay, awesome. Visi and Danny, welcome. This is the first time that they are visiting us today. So we are going over right now CSS, HTML, and JavaScript, as well as using APIs. If at any point you guys have any questions, I'm assuming you guys have kind of been
True.
following along as you've gone through, as we have on this department. If you haven't, that's fine. If you have any questions, I'll do my best to answer them and try to get you caught up to speed as best I can.
Sorry, I
Uh,
think I disconnected.
oh, that's okay. Are you there?
Yeah, I'm here now.
Okay. Tony had a drop. He said his internet's down. That's okay. No biggie. But Thomas, go ahead and reshare your screen again. So, all right, cool. Uh, the left column, set the width to also be 50%. And there we go. All right, so now they're both side by side. They're both only taking 50% of the container that they belong to. Uh, Now we can kind of mess around with some formatting if we wanted to. Do you want these images to take 100% of your height, Thomas? I don't think it's a
Ye-
smart idea, personally, because it will stretch the image. So
Uh,
there's things you have to take into consideration. I mean, expand this window.
it's already expanded. It's all the
Uh,
way.
oh, okay,
Yeah, because if I do that,
yeah. You could make it 100%, but it might stretch the image. Try to set the height to 100% for the right column. Actually, it shouldn't do it because the image we haven't set a max height to it. But did you change it?
Yeah, I
Okay.
100%.
Do you know why do you see any noticeable change?
No, there's no change. The border didn't move at all.
Right. So height for the right column is 100% of its container, right? Well, what's the max height for the container it belongs to?
We
We don't
haven't
we
specified one.
Yeah, we haven't specified one. So you could try. We could do like a height set to like 100 view heights, and there you go. Right. So what's important here to notice, Thomas, is how your elements are going to change is going to be dependent on the relationship that they have amongst other elements, where they are inside of, right? What div has what within it and whatnot, and how they interact, right? So and we see that here when we were discussing image being set to 100%. Well, it's 100% of its container, right? And that container is only going to be 50% of the container it's in. So all these different levels of elements, uh, when we talk about height, whether it's percentage, or its view height, it's taking into consideration the container it's in. Think about like water, right? It's going to take the shape of its container. The water might take 100% of the glass, but how tall is the glass? Is it, 100%, or is it like 50% of the room? Is it 100% of the room? So you got to think about it in relation to what, right? Stuff like that. So do you want it to be this tall,
No.
Thomas? Yeah, probably not. So maybe switch the view height. Maybe you don't want to put a height. It will probably just expand dynamically with the size of the image, which perfectly is fine. Or you can set it to 50 view heights. Um, whatever makes you feel comfortable. But
Yeah,
uh,
that works.
yeah, and then from here you can center the other items, right? Um, for example, let's say you want to center the image and the name on the right column. So where should you try to center it? What tab should you access to center the name and images?
Let's see. Name is set up for H2, so that I would do an H2 tag. Uh, yeah.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. With a name there. What about that left column? Is that how you want it? Is that good?
No. And then for
Maybe,
left column,
yeah.
mm, not quite what I wanted. Oh, that's what it was. No, that wasn't it.
Do display, no, display flex maybe? Yeesh, that's horrible. Um, it would work if the get button and the input tag were in a container within themselves.
They are in
They
a
are?
class called text in container.
Okay. What's the CSS on that one? Are they side by side? Are they set to be
Uh,
side by side?
they are not set. Like, here's the HTML for it.
Right. I see them. But like, is there CSS on this text in container?
No.
Yeah, so you see how it starts getting more nitty gritty. So now you have to go give that CSS so you can give the overall content CSS as well. So try to do something like text in container. Give it display flex and keep it like that for now. Let's try to update the left column again. and do display flex, change the flex direction. Oh, actually, this might be fine, but I don't like the height. It's taking up 100% of the height, right?
Hmm.
What's it doing there? Um, the button is absolutely taking up 100% of the height, and so is the inputs. Scroll. Let's go back to the text in container. Display flex. What should the max height be? Mm.
Maybe.
All right, actually, let's go back up to the other one, the left container, and let's change the flex direction. Maybe this will help. Do flex direction. I think right now it's set to columns. Check row. All right, put it to column. I always get this confused. There we go. Uh, we're getting there. What looks a little off right now?
The button and its label.
Yeah, these might have to be in their own container if you want to make them left and right side by side, just like we did the button and the input tag. You see
Hmm.
how it's starting to get very nested with these divs. This kind of
Hmm.
goes back to how we were talking about it in the initial class when we talked about HTML. That everything in your web page really is just divs, right? Boxes amongst boxes within other boxes. And boxes really are just used to kind of categorize stuff and put like items with like items. It helps CS doing CSS and updating stuff later a little bit more manageable. But are you starting to get the hang of what I'm getting to here when it comes to making changes in relation to what container they belong into and
Yeah,
categorizing stuff?
yeah, for sure. That definitely helps out a lot more.
Okay. All right, awesome. Well, I saw your progress with your Pokemon stuff. Alex, would you like
Oh,
to?
real quick, you said you were going to show us how to deal with the H1.
Oh, yes. That's gonna have to go into its own div,
Oh, okay.
right? So you'll have the like, for example, you have to do something like this, where you stack the columns on the bottom, and then you
Hmm.
have a div for the header, right? That goes left to right. You have the bottom column that's gonna have column one and then column two. So that's because you have them side by side. You have it on the same level as columns, right? It's H1 and then left column and right column. So that's why when you do display flex, it's going to treat them as big individual boxes. But in reality, that H1 shouldn't be treated as a whole box. You only want the text, is that correct?
Right.
Yeah. So what you might have to do is put these two right here, right column and left column inside of another div.
Okay, gotcha. Or should the H1 still remain in the container, or would I move the H1 above the
You
container?
can, or you could just move it above the container too. So you could give that a try. Right? It's all,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
Okay, that makes sense.
Right. Once again, relationships, where they are within other divs and compare it to other divs in relation to them. But all right, let's go ahead. Do you have any other questions? Okay, cool. Alex, can we see what you were able to accomplish with your Pokemon?
I I was not able to accomplish anything. I just took my tech assessment today. So I'll finally have time to start working on the FOP homework
Yay, nay?
assignments. No, no. I touched it like I last night a little bit, but nothing changed.
No, I'm talking about your tech assessment.
Oh, yay.
Oh, okay, good.
Yeah.
Awesome. Right on.
Yeah,
That's all I
we're
care
good to
about.
go.
Yeah, no
Nice.
problem. Uh, yeah, no worries. That's fine. Okay. Then I think we can move forward. Um, let's go ahead and check this out. Okay. Where are we in the program right now? I think we're close to finishing off APIs, and we might be able to start our resume portfolio website today, which is actually very exciting. Uh, Stand by. I have to open up a new window. While I'm getting set up, uh, new guys, how far are you guys have seen on Foundations of Programming? Has anyone seen any of the videos? If you have, how many of them have you seen? Let's start with Danny.
Hey, can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Okay. Um, I'm on the second video. I think it's getting into the GitHub
Okay.
stuff. I find that pretty interesting. But that code that Thomas put up there, I kind of recognize it because I had some familiarity with HTML and CSS already. But JavaScript is pretty new to me, so embedding JavaScript in HTML and CSS is pretty new, so I want to learn that a lot.
Yeah, you'll be able to learn that in my videos. I think the last two videos, one's called JavaScript Crash Course, and the other one should be called Adding JavaScript. So, if you're new to JavaScript, the JavaScript Crash Course, we talked about the similarity between Python and JavaScript and how to do them both. So, if you start with Python, I explained to you how it's done in Python and how it's done in JavaScript, so you can see a contrast between them. Um, and then in the adding JavaScript class, we talk about how to actually apply the JavaScript file to your HTML and CSS and how it comes together to help you get some functionality to your uh, application. Um, what you call it? The only way to get good at it is by coding it. So, we talk about it, but you're gonna have to kind of work on the exercises to really understand it. How about Visi?
Sorry, what was the question?
Yeah, have you seen any of the previous foundation programming videos? And if you have, how far have you seen?
No, sir. This is the first time that I've entered the chat, actually.
Okay, yeah. Awesome. Well, that's okay. The videos are posted in the pre-work channel. They're also in our Slack channel. So in that Slack channel, you're gonna find at the very top, we have two different sections. We have something already pinned, which will be the Zoom link, as well as I believe it's the GitHub link that's pinned up there. Let me check. Yeah, the GitHub and the Zoom link are pinned at the very top. And if you check underneath bookmarks, you'll find the class schedule. You'll find the Foundation of Programming YouTube playlist from the last class. I should probably put the updated one. And you'll also find the install fest. I'm going to go ahead and assume that you guys have done the install fest with Guillermo during your weekly check-ins. If you haven't, let me know. But you do want to go over the install fest to ensure that your machine is good to go before you actually start working on the repository for Foundation of Programming. Yeah. All right. Let's go ahead and move on. Let me go ahead and share my screen. So we just finished talking about the API for Pokemon. All right. It's an interesting assignment. If you guys complete it, make sure you try to add to it. See if you can create your own Pokemon team. You'll be working more with the Pokemon API as you progress through our course. The immersive program definitely uses it. We also use the Rick and Morty API. That was new. People seem to like them as well. Um, in regards to APIs, as you saw yesterday, when we visited the dog API, the cocktail API, and the Pokemon, each one of these had documentation. Now, the documentation is going to vary, right? The dog API was pretty straightforward. We'll visit it real quick for those of you that weren't here when we went over the dog API. But the API, the application programming interface, it ranges in difficulty. The dog API was very straightforward. It gave you the link that you use to make an API request, and also an example of the JSON code, right? In JSON, for those of you who just got here, it stands for JavaScript Object Notation. Really, it's a fancy way of describing a dictionary. So you're familiar with Python and you've used dictionaries, key value pairs, that type of data structure. In JavaScript, it's called an object, or in other words, another way it goes by is by JSON, JavaScript Object Notation. And as you can tell here by looking at the syntax, it looks like a dictionary from Python, right? It has key value pairs. And when we are sending information through the internet, specifically browsers and stuff, we use JSON, right? To distribute information. So whenever we're talking to the API and it gives us back the data from its servers, it's going to return to us an object, a JSON. By the way, don't say JSON object because it's kind of saying like cat card, like your common access card. It's like redundant. So it'll return to you a JSON, not JSON object. But JSON, and this will have the information that you want. But this dog API is very straightforward, right? It just gives you the link. You can apply this into your fetch request, and you can grab information, right? We saw the Cocktail API, or Cocktail DB is what the website was called. And this one, it changed a little bit, right? The interface, it did not look as slick as the dog one. But this one definitely had a lot more links, specifically a lot more adjustable links, right? That you can customize yourself to get specific drinks by ID, by the name of the drinks, first letter, or just like the dog one, get a random generated cocktail. And then we saw the Pokemon as well. But not all APIs are going to be this simple, right? As you start using the more elegant APIs that other developers are creating out there, the flow of how the API works is going to get a lot more complex. To give you an example, I'm going to use the Spotify API. Spotify has an API that you can leverage so you can build your own music apps. I like to use this one because I've specifically used the Spotify API. And I'll tell you right now, for a brand new student in Platoon at the time, I was, doing my first project. I tried to do some kind of like music discovery app. I was trying to leverage the Spotify API. This was a monster of an API. There's a lot of documentation just on getting started. And a lot of this language was foreign to me. I didn't quite know what it meant by something like content type header, grant type, parameters. I didn't know what the heck was a URL, a curl, right? When looking at all this stuff, I was super confused. Like looking tutorials, authorization code, PKCE, code verifier. I was like, what in the heck is all this? This is just so you can make an API request. You had to create this very elegant request, and there's a whole flow that went into it. And I think we can even see the concepts of it. Let me see if I can find the image. There's the image. Here it is. Here is the flow of how your data should flow when using this API. I don't know if it's zooming in the image. I don't think so. That's upsetting. But this is how it's supposed to work, like your application. Your API, your app, right? Your website should request authorization to access the data. It tells you what it should send to the API, client ID, redirect type, redirect URL, state, and scope. I know this sounds foreign to some of y'all, right? When we went over API requests yesterday, it was as simple as using the command of fetch and then putting in the URL, and then you just got information back. The more elegant APIs are not going to be that simple. they're going to require for you to make an account. Some APIs, the more, you know, really well built APIs with a lot of information, are going to charge you if you want to use them. Some will give you a free trial. They'll let you use 5,000 free calls per month, right? That means your API uh can make 5,000 API calls, right? Before it starts charging you. If you exceed that limit, they start billing you. So you have to have a card on file. But notice here we have to get in contact with the Spotify account service, giving them the information, which will then it'll redirect us to a login page to log into Spotify. Which after we log in successfully, it should redirect us back to our application. It's a whole long flow here of data of back and forth of information being sent uh, until you finally authenticate through Spotify and you can finally use the application. If you are new to APIs, I would not recommend you using an API like the one for Spotify because it will confuse the heck out of you. To give you an example, I believe personal projects, we had 3 weeks to complete this. I spent 2/3 of my time trying to implement this API. Uh, the 2/3. There's a dude in my class that completed and deployed his application within the first week. I try to bite a little bit more than I can chew. I was using this API. I was thinking to myself, like, if I'm gonna go and deploy a project, it's gonna be a great project. Other people, they kept their ideas very simple. The projects were very simple. And I'm not gonna lie to you, at the time, I kind of like laughed at it. I was like, that's way too simple. Like, that's not gonna be me. Like, that's not gonna be enough to impress somebody. To give you an example, I had a buddy. His name, I'm not gonna say his name actually, but cool dude. We were chill. He helped me out with an interview later on in life. But his application was a toilet finder. It quite literally was a website that you would put in your zip code or location, and it would tell you the nearest bathroom. And then you could like leave Yelp reviews pretty much on these toilets. And I thought, for lack of better word, I thought that was freaking stupid. I was like, why would you do that? Like, try presenting that to somebody that's giving you an interview. And I didn't tell him to his face, but in my head, I was judging him. And I was like, I'm not gonna do that. I'm gonna make a really nice website. And well, that kind of, you know, bit me in the ass, really. I couldn't complete my project to how I wanted to within the allotted time, and I wasn't able to deploy this project. As a matter of fact, I had like 2 days at the very end to add some CSS. So if I show you how it looked like, it looks pretty disgusting. Uh, Thomas's Pokemon assignment today looked better than my personal project. So it was pretty bad. Um, and at the end of the day, he had something to show for whenever he had interviews, and I didn't. I had like, a GitHub link to the repo. But like I mentioned to you guys before, how many interviewers are going to really look at your code for GitHub for every single person that applies? Not many, right? If any, really. Yes, Danny.
You mentioned API calls. What do you mean by that?
Yeah, so that's a good question. So this is something that we talked about yesterday, but I'll do a quick recap. We have something, these tools that we use called APIs, which is an acronym that stands for Application Programming Interfaces. These APIs or really these websites provide data for us that we can use. Uh, I want you to think about Spotify, but I'm gonna show you the one that we were using yesterday, which is the Poke API. So imagine I wanted to create some kind of browser-based game or some browser-based application that could generate a Pokemon. For example, like Pokemon Team Generator. These are real things. Like you can see here, Pokemon Team Planner, Game Picker. Someone has a project for that. Random Pokemon Generator. People have made websites that you can click like this, like I want to get Generation 4 from all regions. I want to generate Pokemon uh that is a dragon type. Um, I do not want legendaries. And let's go ahead and generate it. And then here it is. It generates for me images. Now, if I want to create a website like this that can show me stuff from Pokemon, uh, I need to have the Pokemon data, right? So how would I do this? Well, I could maybe set up some kind of database, and I could try to fill up this database with all the Pokemon data I have. I would require Pokemon names, Pokemon types, Pokemon levels, the Pokemon evolutions. I might need Pokemon pictures like you see here so I can display it on my application. Pokemon moves. I need to know, a quick bio of that Pokemon if I want to put a description. Like you saw here, we're able to select by regions. So maybe I need to ensure that I have in my database, there's some kind of relationship between my Pokemons and what regions they can be found. This is a lot of data. And when you think about Pokemon, Pokemon has somewhere around 1,300 different Pokemon. Did you grow up with Pokemon, Danny, by any chance? Do you know what I'm talking about when I mention all these things?
Yeah, yeah,
Okay,
familiar.
awesome. Right? So this is a lot of information. Now, if I was trying to recreate some kind of website like this, I would need this info. Now, I could manually input this information into a database, but that would take a long time. Now, do I want to recreate this from scratch? I could, but is that really ideal? No, not necessarily. Well, there are websites out there, APIs to be specific, that have already done this for me, and they provide this service for us as developers so we can leverage this information and not have to recreate the wheel. And one of those tools is the Pokemon API, which is the one that we use for our assignment. And someone somewhere decided to create some kind of database and store all the information from Pokemon, which is absolutely awesome. So they created this database that stores all this Pokemon information, and they created URL endpoints, what we call, that we can use to talk to their database and grab information. So here they have the template already for me. I can quite literally do something like Gengar, and I can press submit, and it shows me how their API works. This specific URL will return to me this information. So when I said API calls, this is what I'm referring to. There is a URL that we can use to talk to really an API, and we call that an API call, right? We can see that, or the code to do that looks something similar to this, right? We create a function where we generate that URL that we were given from the API website, and we use a method or a function, a pre-built function that comes with JavaScript called fetch. This fetch function, it takes a URL and it's going to quite literally like call up that database and say, hey, what up? Like someone's trying to access this URL, right? And request this information. Can this person have it? And this database will be like, yeah, absolutely. Here's the information. And it's going to send it back to me. And then I'm going to grab that data. It's going to be saved into this variable. I'm going to convert it into JSON, right? Something that my JavaScript file can read. And as mentioned, JSON is an object in JavaScript. I'm going to convert it to JSON, and then I can console.log that information. And that information is going to look like this JSON, right? So in JavaScript, we can write code to speak to a specific URL somewhere in some server that can give us this information back. Does that make sense, Danny?
Yeah,
Awesome.
totally.
Yes, Alex.
So what if do you have to do the conversion? What if the information is already in a JSON?
It's not.
Okay.
That's not how information is traveled through the internet,
Got it.
right?
Okay.
That's pretty much what I'm trying to get at. How information is sent over the internet, there's different ways of it. The one that we're talking about specifically is like responses and requests. It's pretty much, I want you to think about it like a package, right? Like if I wanted to order like a crib for my daughter that was just born, it's not going to come assembled. It's gonna come packaged up in some kind of box. I'm gonna have to open that box up and kind of like figure out how to put it together so I can like look at it and use it. That's kind of how this data is being sent over the internet. It's kind of packaged up in a way that we can send through the internet. But once it gets to you, you need to kind of decipher it in something that you can read. Because you have to remember that different computers, different people are using different languages, they were different frameworks, different programs. We have different standards for everything. So we need to convert things into something that we can understand on what platform we are using. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Right? Same thing like, if I was making a movie and I wanted to display it in Japan, I probably want to make sure I convert it in a different language so somebody else can enjoy it. So, when you create a movie, you probably have subtitles or different languages that can be shown. Same concept here. When you send out data, it has to have the ability to be able to change depending on what you're using.
Right.
Um,
Okay. Yeah, my question, I mean, that
and
does make sense, but what if, or what, yeah, the people who created the database for, say, Poke API, what if they created, they got all the info? What if they built it with like HTML, CSS, and JavaScript? Did they have to convert all
the
the info?
data, the data, it'll make sense once you start working with PostgreSQL, one of the databases that we're going to be using. It's
Okay.
not written in HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. Um, it's SQL. Uh, if you when you start getting into frameworks like Django, which is what you're going to use, uh,
Mhm.
we're going to use Django to be able to format the data from our database into data we can send over the internet so the front end can use it. And you're gonna remember this, you're gonna get to it, and you're gonna talk about serialization. Before we send out the information from our API to whatever place is calling for it, we're gonna serialize the data and we're gonna send it out. You'll remember this once you get to class, when you hear that term. Uh, you're gonna quite literally create an API, Alex, and you'll see how it's built and how things are converted and changed and used so we can send that out to other people. So you'll learn how to do that. And hopefully then the answer will seem a little bit more clear. But the point is, uh, it won't just travel as raw, like JSON data like that. You'll probably serialize it in some shape, way, or form to transport it.
Got it. Okay, cool.
Do you know why?
Oh, simply,
It,
I read a book that said that the way the internet works is that like it divide chunks up data, sends it through the, I guess, least path of the resistance through internet nodes or something like that, and it all comes
it,
together.
Yeah, in a sense. And then JSON is also just one of those that can be converted to a different other languages. So there's a lot of reasons for it, but yeah, it won't just come as just like raw JSON just traveling everywhere all together. It's ways how it works. Don't think about it too much. Just know that if you're making API requests, you're probably gonna have to convert it. If you're using a JavaScript file, you're gonna want to convert it to JSON. But yeah.
Is there a chance that um, using fetch, that conversion process, that little simple line where you convert it to JSON, is that a point of failure? Like, will it always convert properly, or is there sometimes you have to debug or something?
Um, That's a good question. There will be points of failures. It won't be because you can't convert it to JSON. It's not going to be because the .json method doesn't work. It's going to be because something happened when you made the fetch request that you messed up. Like you
Okay.
forgot to add something to the URL path, or you failed to give the fetch request the required information. So you will get errors. It won't be because the method doesn't work. The method will work. It's just that it won't work on the correct data if you don't pass in the correct information. But you will have a lot of headaches there, and you will see it. These are experiences that you're going to encounter.
Okay.
Can it
Cool.
fail because of conflicting serialization? Like if you're trying to build like a chat GPT add-in or whatever API, and you're trying to build, send receive requests. Like, can that fail if you don't know how ChatGPT serializes its info to you for you to convert to JSON?
I want to say yes. Everything that you work with, you're gonna have to check documentation to see how information is used. I don't ever really use anything else besides having to convert to JSON. Because well, the frameworks that we use JavaScript, so I have to convert to JSON. But I know that different types of applications have different ways that they do things, so I know things can change. So, yes, not specifically JSON. The method will work. It works. There's nothing wrong with the method. It just depends on the context that you're using it and what application you're using and how they're working with data and what data they're working with. But let's not get too far into the rabbit hole. Let's go ahead and move on. So we talked about APIs. We talked about documentation and complexity. The last thing we're going to talk about in regards to API is one of the last helpful little APIs that you might use, and it's going to be local storage. Local storage is something that your browser uses. It's a form of a programming interface. Uh, Local storage is to keep track of stuff while your browser is open. It's helpful for developing. It's not helpful for production. You don't want to keep sensitive information in local storage because people can use, you know, cross-site scripting and mess with your browser and your cookies and your tags. And there's a lot of malicious people out there that are going to start, messing around with stuff in any vulnerable part of your application, whether it's SQL injection and stuff. One of these is accessing your local storage on your browser. So it's not good for production, but it's good to use for development, especially when tracking like state or like logins and logging outs. It's good to use it to manipulate that functionality to make sure that your stuff is working. Now, what's local storage? Well, let me show you in real time. If you right click on your browser or whatever page you are, and you click on inspect, it should bring up your inspect tools. If you click the arrows here for more tabs, you're gonna find what's gonna say memory, I believe. Oh, I'm dumb. Application. There you go. Application. Under application, you're gonna find this section where it says storage, and you see local storage. There might be a couple stuff in here depending on what browser, what page you have open. But in the same tab, you can also find the cookies and what your browser is tracking, like passwords and stuff like that, where you've been, what you've looked at. Local storage is one of those tools here on your browser, and you are able to manipulate this yourself using JavaScript. So we're going to talk about how we can manipulate the local storage to keep track of certain things, keep track of states. So local storage is a special kind of API that allows you to store data across browser sessions, right? Think about when you log in. A way that we can replicate the behavior of logging into a website is by using local storage. Let's say I have a page where I go and I sign in, I put in my username and password. When I click login, if my user gave me the correct username and password, what I can do is I can save something inside of local storage, maybe to keep it simple and not get complicated. I could create something that where is I don't see where my local storage go. There it is. I could create like a value here that's going to store like logged in is equal to true. So whenever I navigate through the website, I'll check local storage. Hey, is logged in true? And so then I will present him with information. If it's equal to false, that means he's logged out, and I should not be able to give him information. Does that make sense? So that's the way how I can mimic like a login states. Now that's very simple. Really, you'd be using something like tokens. But that's an easy way of explaining it there. Just keeping track of some kind of variable, really, that we can use to reference to see if the user is still logged in. So, we're gonna mess around with that so we can talk about how it works. But to use local storage, there's a couple commands that you need to get familiar with. And these are the only ones that really matter. The first one is how we set something into local storage. Well, first and foremost, to access local storage, we have to use the prefix of local storage, right? So in your JavaScript, when you're ready to actually access your local storage, you're going to call for it. You're going to say local storage with the capital S. This API has a couple methods that come with it. We have set item, get item, remove item, and clear. Now, I think it's kind of self-explanatory what these methods are doing. But to hold on, give me a second. My is here. Sorry, my niece gets very excited, so I have to let her know. No, I'm busy. But as you can see here, set item, it takes two arguments. The first argument is the key, and the second argument is going to be the value. So whenever you want to save something into your local storage, you're going to save it with a key value pair, very similar to an object, right? Or like a dictionary. So they quite literally type out what the key should be, and then the value here. To get an item, it's very similar to like the get method when accessing items in a dictionary. If you're familiar with that, you pass in the key that you're trying to grab, and it's going to return to you the value. So you see here it's being used local storage dot get item. They're trying to grab count, which I know it's there because they ran the set item count method above, and they're going to constant log it. To remove an item, you call the dot remove item, and you pass in the key that you want to remove, and it'll remove it. And then finally, we have local storage dot clear, which quite literally just wipes your local storage. Now, let's look at it very briefly. I want to check bot score.html, and I do not have my VS Code open, unfortunately. Stand by. There we go. All right. Danny and Vissy, have you guys gone through the install phase?
Yes, but I do have a few questions about it.
Okay. Yeah, we'll handle that after class if you're still here. Or maybe we'll do one of the breaks that we get. So bot score is gonna be in lesson 6, my guys. So you'll open up bot score, right click on botscore.html, and then open with Vive server, and let's see how that works. So here's my bot score. Nothing fancy. It's just an image that says show local storage count here. Let's go ahead and open up the inspect tool. I'm going to go into the extra tabs, and I'm going to click on application. And it's giving me some issue. Why does it not show me? There we go. Local storage. So there's nothing here. Let me refresh the page just to make sure. Okay, there we go. Open it up. Okay, here I see Local storage, I see, which is the 1.127. Really, this is my computer. Let's click it. Notice here, I see a key of count and a value set to 1. Well, let's see where this comes from. I'm going to go ahead and open my VS Code, and I'm going to check out the other files. So botscore.html is pretty straightforward. We had that image. We'd have the nums.png. There's the H4 element that says show local storage count here. We do have something connected to it. We see our link tag for our CSS, and we have our script tag at the very bottom. Let's open up app.js. Inside the app.js, we see the code snippet that we saw in our slides, where they're going to access local storage, the set item to key of count with a value of 1, and they're going to grab it again using count and console.log get string. So let's see that console.log. Let's see if we were able to grab it successfully. So I know I can see here in my application that the key value is there, and I can check the console. And notice here the console does demonstrate a 1. So it did console.log it. So it's running the script the moment I run this page. And here I can refresh it, it displays again. So I'm fairly confident it's running as intended. Now, what is going to be your goal? Your goal is to use the commands for local storage to create a button that's going to add 1 and a button that subtracts 1 to a bot score stored in local storage. Now you already kind of got it set up a little bit with what's already in the JS file. The current count in local storage should be mirrored in the DOM. Finally, add a button that resets the count to 0 as well. So what does that mean? Mirrored in the DOM. Well, what do we know about the DOM, Alex? If the DOM makes the change, what's going to happen? If I make a change to the DOM, what will happen?
We could see it on our screen or
Right,
on
that's
the.
correct. Right, the DOM is a replica, a tree-like, branch-like replica of our application. So when we run our browser with our application, the DOM represents the structure of our application. So if I make a change in my DOM is going to manipulate what's on my application. So I should have a button that I can click add or subtract that's going to manipulate the value in local storage. And if this changes, I also need to update something on my DOM that's going to display the count here on my application. Does that make sense? All right. Okay. I get no questions here. So time is 6:30. We're gonna go on break from 6:30 to 6:40. From 6:40 to 6:50, we'll work on this assignment, and from 6:50, we'll come back and then we'll talk through it. For this one, we're gonna break into teams of 2 because we do have 2 new students here today. So I'm gonna pair you guys up with my veterans, Alex and Thomas. You guys will get your own new student with you today. And then kind of just share your screen, please, and talk to them with what you're doing, so they can kind of see what you're working on, and that way when they get to it, they have an idea of how to go about it. So, you'll both get one of the new guys, and we'll take it from there.
Definitely Thomas. No, I was we were trying to I was trying to help this find we couldn't find the curriculum for the GitHub repo for the Foundations of Programming. We were looking
Slack
at yeah, we were looking at the FOP chat, the
pin,
link pin.
yeah, where the Zoom
Uh,
pin is at.
it's got
Where the,
nothing on pins.
hover over
More.
the Zoom link, Chan. Zoom link.
Oh, there we go. I see. Okay,
Mhm.
cool.
I can show it, but I don't think it's definitely not working. But
Okay, sure. All right, I'll do a walkthrough then. Uh, we'll do a walkthrough, talk through, code along. so you guys can see how it's done. And then hopefully that answers anybody's questions in regards to this assignment. All right. So let's go ahead and share my screen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'll do a walkthrough. Thanks, though. I appreciate your enthusiasm. All right. Share my screen. So, we should all be see my VS Code. We want to create a button that's going to increase the counter for local storage. And at the same time, also increase the counter on our DOM, right? Or really our application. It should be able to show the local storage count. So, uh, really, instead of having the H4 here that has show local storage count here, I'm gonna go ahead and remove this, right? I mean, I can remove it here. Let's go ahead and give this a class. I'm gonna say class, and we'll say number. We'll keep it simple. We'll say number. I'm going to grab that H4 element by using the query selectors. I'm gonna say document, right? I'm gonna use the DOM and the method query selector, and I'm gonna select the class of number, and we're gonna add a value to it, or not value, an inner text, right? Inner text, and we're gonna set it to whatever is in get string, right? That's what's going to be reflected from the local storage, right? We already are grabbing the number from local storage by using local storage.get item at the key of count. It's saving that value into get storage. We console.log it, but we can also use that variable to save it into our inner text. And notice here that our H4 element is now projecting that number. Awesome. So this got us something of a start. Now we should be able to have an add button. So let's go ahead and do button. Which should be something like add. I should have another button that says subtract. And then possibly a button, I believe, that should clear. Appreciate it. All right. Now both or all three of these buttons should have some kind of functionality. So let's deal with the addition first. We're gonna give this button a class called add or increase or add number. Yeah, we'll say add number. The subtract button should have a class of subtract number. And then we can have a button called, yeah, we'll keep it clear. We'll call it reset number. All right. Now, with this, let's do the addition one first. Within here, I'm going to grab the addition button. I'm going to say document dot query selector. I'm going to grab add number. And I'm going to give it an event listener. The event is going to be click. And the function is going to be add number. Now, the function doesn't exist yet, and that's okay. Let's go ahead and create that function. We'll say function add number. And this is going to grab the current value of count that's in local storage. So we'll say something like let's current count is equal to local storage.get item. I want to grab the count value. I'm going to increase it by 1. So I'm going to say current count plus equals 1. And then I'm going to reset it by saying local storage dot set item. I'm going to pass in count and pass in the current count. And I think that should kind of work. Looking here at my local storage, I can add, and it's almost working, but it's not giving me what I projected to happen. I am adding the ones, but it's not adding it as an arithmetic. It's adding it as a concatenated string. So that's not really ideal. What it's telling me is when I'm grabbing the value from count on local storage, current count is a string instead of it being an integer. So let's go ahead. We'll say something like current count is equal to, I'll say parse int. I'm going to convert current count into an integer. And then I'm going to add what comes back from that with a 1. And I think now it should work. And there I have it. The add button is now increasing it by 1. So it's good. Now, it's not exactly working just yet. The DOM is still not doing what I expected to do, which is update the number there. So we quite literally are going to require this inner text to be updated to be something like this, where we say inner text is equal to, and we'll say something like current count. So now that is reflected, right? 7, 17, 18, and so on. So not only is the local storage keeping track of what this number is, but my DOM is also ensuring that my page is reflecting the current value of that. Any questions so far?
Yeah. How do we know that the that function isn't just like, obviously it's storing it to the local storage, but it's directly displaying that number from the function and not actually grabbing it from local storage to display it?
Sure. We can. Well, you got to think about it like this. Right now, when we first load up this page, it automatically runs this line above, which is going to set it to 1. It's going to grab it into a variable. We can delete the console.log. We don't need this. And then it's going to update it to get string, right? It does this at mount. Now, what does that mean? Well, when we load a page, it's going to mount everything on our screen, right? It's mounting it to our screen. That's done automatically the moment you first arrive to a web page. Now, as of right now, there is no way for me, as far as I'm tracking, that I can do that's going to make this update the moment this changes without me creating a function that's going to make sure that happens. So that's kind of what I'm doing here, right? Add number. If I know I'm updating the local storage, this should reflect as well. Does that answer your question?
I think so.
Can I see that full document dot query selector dot add number? Okay. So without this wouldn't be possible without line 6.
Right. We have to add a function to the add button so it can increase something in our local storage.
Got it. Okay, cool.
Local storage is being reflected, or what's in a DOM is reflecting directly what's happening in local storage. If you think about it, because technically I am setting, well, actually, we would, if I think you are right, Thomas, we should say something like local storage dot get item, and I'm specifically going to grab what's in count to make sure it reflects that, right?
Is this
Uh,
an API?
it is a version of API, yes.
Okay.
Awesome. So we can do something like this for subtract number. We need to make sure that the subtract button has something similar to this as well. Document.query selector. We'll say subtract number. We need to add an event listener to this button. And that function is going to run when I click it, it's going to be subtract number. Right? So now that we have that
Oh,
going on, yes.
real quick, I actually did I added functionality for it to update as your local storage updates.
Oh yeah, do tell.
You would add the another event listener. You do the document.query selector and then your class for your H4. And
Uh-huh.
then you do the dot add event listener, and then you would instead of click, you would be like you'd add change, and then I created an update function, and then in the update function, I just basically added the document.query selector, the class.intertext equals get string, and so it automatically updates every time it detects a change to the local storage.
I gotta look into that. That's interesting. Okay. Yeah, I'll definitely check that out, Thomas. I've never used it myself, but that sounds pretty interesting. I mean, it should work. In React, we have a very similar functionality, but here we're using raw DOM commands. Um, Let current count is equal to local storage dot get item. We should get the counts. Current count is equal to parse int, which is the current count, but -1. Local storage dot set item to count and current count. And then finally, document dot query selector. We're going to grab a number, add the event listener. Oh, my bad, not event listener, inner text. Inner text is equal to local storage dot get item. And we could probably recycle the code above because it's so similar. And then finally, we'll have the clear function. So let's add a event listener for that one as well. This will be document dot query selector. I think this was reset number is what we called it. We'll give it an event listener that will be on click. And this will be reset number function. And this should clear local storage. So we'll say local storage dot clear. And then we will say local storage. No, we can say something like what do we do? We could grab the H4 element, document.query selector, number. There's a redundancy here, but it's okay. Dot inner text is equal to 0. add, subtract, clear. Okay. There is an issue here, where when we clear it, technically we cleared everything. We reset it to 0, but there's nothing anymore in local storage. So if I try to add again, it's going to try to grab the item from local storage, which doesn't exist. But I mean, we can tweak the reset number. The point is here is that we're able to manipulate the local storage, add, subtract, and even clear it if we wanted to, right? Which is awesome. Really, what it should have been this reset number. It shouldn't clear it completely. It should set it to a different thing. So like set item. This should set count to 0. And we should grab local storage here. Something like that. Add, subtract, clear, add, subtract. All right, awesome. Does anybody have any questions on how we achieve this? Anything at all? Awesome. All right. Let's go ahead and move on to the last part of this lecture. Which is going to be the NASA picture of the day. All right. Let me go ahead and share my screen. So NASA picture of the day is going to be the last assignment that we're going to be using that handles an API. So up to this point, we talked about different APIs, how to talk to them, whether it's the fetch using the old method with the .then or using async with a wait fetch. We talked about the different types of APIs, the simple ones like dog, cocktail, Pokemon. We talked a little bit about the more complex ones like Spotify. We talked about how some of them would charge you by so many API calls. And the last assignment here is gonna be the NASA picture of the day. So your goal is you're gonna go ahead and open up somewhere in your VS Code on the lecture for lesson 6. I don't think there's a folder for it. There isn't. So somewhere in lesson 6, I want you to create a folder, call it NASA picture of the day or just NASA, whatever you want to call it. And you're going to use everything you've learned so far to set up a basic HTML, CSS, and JavaScript project where you are going to leverage the NASA API to display to me the NASA picture of the day. So I'm not going to review the NASA API. It's going to be up to you. Find the NASA API, go through the documentation, understand it, figure out how the NASA API wants you to talk to it, create the API call, and display it on your application. Have a very minimal HTML and CSS. You don't have to make it look pretty. I just want to see the picture on your screen for the NASA picture of the day. Now, things I've encountered in the past is sometimes NASA doesn't want to put a picture of the day, and they might put a video, and that kind of screws over my assignment sometimes. So if you're working with a NASA picture of the day and it doesn't show anything, it's supposed to be a video for today, you might not get anything back. That's okay. But for the most part, it rarely happens. It happened like once. But yeah, really the NASA picture day is they're gonna have a picture that they, found today that they're going to show, right? Really just NASA picture day. We'll go back to our rooms that we were in earlier, so you guys can work with the new guys that need help. But yeah, ask questions to Alex or Thomas if you guys have it. Time is 7:17. I want you to work on this till 7:30. At 7:30, you're gonna go on break till 7:40. From 7:40, we'll come back and we'll review it. If you couldn't finish it, we'll talk about how we reach a solution, and then we'll move on to the last part of today, which is gonna be CRUD applications. Uh, awesome. Let's go ahead and break into our breakout rooms. All right, so here is the NASA API. It's not the most user-friendly. It's changed with some time as I was looking at it. Um, you have a couple tabs like generating an API key, authentication, recover API key, and browse APIs. Did anybody generate an API key? Do you guys at least do that part?
I think so.
Okay. I'm gonna ask you for your API key because I don't want to open up my email and go through steps on camera. And open up my email inbox. So just send me your API key. Uh, you're not gonna get charged for it. These are free. You send it to me either on Slack or on here. But you know, you might have like been tempted to check out the browse APIs. And it should have brought you somewhere to here where you can check out the different types of APIs they provide for you. And quite literally it is the very first one, which is the APOD astronomy picture of the day, right? The abbreviation is here, but if it took a second to read it, you see this is the API specific one that I was asking for. And it's going to talk to you a little bit about the API and what it does for you. One of the most popular websites at NASA is the astronomy picture of the day. In fact, this website is one of the most popular websites across all federal agencies, right? So, if you scroll down a little bit more, you're going to see the HTTP request example. They give you a URL link, and then it tells you about query parameters that you could use on this link, like date, start date, end date, etc., etc. And then an example query. So I can go ahead and copy this link address. I'm going to use Postman real quick to just kind of show what I'm supposed to be getting back. If I press Control V here, I can send it, and then I'll see the data that's going to return to me. And as we see here, I do get something returned back to me, right? So this is what came back from the default version of it. Let's go ahead and give this bad boy a try. So I'm gonna go ahead, as I mentioned, within lesson 06, I'm gonna create a new folder. I'm gonna call this APOD for NASA picture of the day. And then within the APOD file, I'm gonna create, or within the APOD folder, I'm gonna create a index.html. I'm going to create an app.js, and that's about all that I'm going to do because I'm not going to do any CSS. Really, I just want to show you guys real quick what it should look like. I'm going to go ahead and use my boilerplate for my index.html file by using the exclamation mark here, which is going to give me my emmet abbreviation. And I'm going to go ahead and link my script tag within here. What am I doing? My script tag here. This should be type is equal to, was it like text / JavaScript? I don't remember off the top of my head. Someone correct me if I'm wrong. Text / JavaScript. This should be source and it should be app.js. Someone fact check me.
You're good.
But hopefully we should be good here. This is going to connect my app.js file. And next, I can go ahead and in my JS, let me just go ahead and use the console.log just to verify that everything is speaking to each other. Hello, I'm connected. Right. With that bad boy set up, let's go ahead and run this HTML file with Five server. Okay. With this open, I'm gonna go check my console. And I see here it says, hello, I'm connected. So I'm confident right now that my HTML and my JavaScript are talking, right? So someone walk me through, since I've gotten you guys this far, walk me through how I can use the information I got from APOD and how can I grab the picture of the day. And then when I grab that picture of the day, how can I display this on my application? Who wants to start me off?
Make a button.
Okay. Yeah, we could definitely do a button, so it's not automatically starting off. So we'll take that route. We can do a button. This button can be something like generate a pod. We'll give it a class, which will be generate picture, all right? Or we'll call it a pod generator. Yes, sir. And then we're probably gonna want to grab this within our JavaScript. So we'll say something like document.querySelector. And we will grab it by saying apod generator. This is going to require an event listener, which is going to be click. And our function should be get apod. Cool. All right, someone walk me through the apod function.
Um, every time you click it, you're gonna want to view maybe a random uh pick of the day, astronomy pick of the day.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
continue. How can I use the API to leverage this?
You're gonna want to fetch the API
Okay.
and then find the image
Yeah.
that the
So,
API gives.
okay. Yeah. I mean, pretty straightforward. I'll take it. I'll take it. Thank you for volunteering. Let's go ahead and we're gonna say something like async, because we want this to run asynchronous. And we're gonna try to run our function here called, what are we calling this? Get a pod. Um, and this function here should be able to ping this URL. Now, this URL is kind of already given to us. Let's go ahead. We'll use the demo key for now. Uh, and this demo key is what we're going to use to add it to our function here. So we'll do something like const response is equal to await. We'll fetch our URL here. And then we're going to say something like const data is equal to await response.json. And let's try to do console log data. Let's see how this works. I'm getting an issue with the event listener. Document.query selector, apod generate dot add event listener. There is something wrong with this. Apod generator. What is going on? Let's go ahead. What if I do async? There we go. Awesome. So I was getting an issue. Who can guess what happened? What was it? Why was I getting this issue without the async? Look at the error I'm getting. Why am I getting this error? What is this error telling me? Thomas, can you take a guess?
It was not able to parse the page
Okay. And why did async change that?
because it told it to hold off on parsing the page until it could get the data.
Right. Um, what was happening here was when it runs this, it tried to run from top to bottom my code. It got to the script tag and it tried to run the entire JavaScript tag. Right, so it went to JS and it tried running this. What's the very first line I have here on my JS file? It's trying to grab a button with a pod generator class, and it's trying to give it an event listener. It says no. It doesn't know what that is. What the heck is a pod generator? And it's confused because when it runs the JavaScript file, the only thing that's loaded up is the metadata. It's yet to get to the body. So it doesn't know where to get a pod generator from, right? So we add asynchronous. And what this does, it's going to load it. It's going to load the JavaScript, but it won't run it until everything else has been loaded up as well. And now it suddenly starts recognizing what the heck it was talking about when referencing this class name, right? Does this make sense? Awesome. Now we can generate a pod, and I see here that I am grabbing the information, and I can add this to an image. So let's go ahead and create an image tag, which I believe is self-closing. We're going to say, was it href, I think? And alt. When I generate this, I want to be able to grab the NASA picture of the day. So I should be able to come into its data and grab the HD URL or the URL. I'll grab HD URL. So after I grab data, I'm going to say document dot query selector. I'll just grab the image for now. Dot source. Pretty sure it's supposed to be source. Is equal to data at the key of HD URL. And there we go. It populated. So now I got this awesome image. Obviously, it's way too big, so we'll mess with it in a second. But I was able to dynamically grab that item now, right? Let's go ahead and add a class to this because this is not good practice. I'll say class. I'll say apod image, right? And then that's how I'm going to grab this, not by the tag itself, but by the class dot apod image. I can generate pod. There we go. And actually, let's move this image in the button because I don't like how I don't have the button anymore. Cool. So there's my item. Let's go ahead and add a little bit of CSS so it's not overcrowding my page. I'm gonna go ahead and add the CSS file. So I'm gonna say style.css. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna add this to my head using the link tag. This should be type, should be style sheet. This should be href being style.css. Is my headset cutting off by any chance? Just okay, awesome. Uh, so here is my image. Let's go ahead and try to grab this item. We'll say dot apod image. I'm gonna say height, uh, 25 view height, and we'll say width is 25 view width. And I think it's working. Are we getting an issue here? What's going on? Why is it not working now? What is going on? Style.css. Where's my picture of the date? Did this happen to you guys by any chance?
It wouldn't even let me generate.
Okay.
I put the example HTML or the example link. We're working with that, right? The example query.
For now, we're gonna use the
Okay.
actual
Yeah,
link for the April day.
yeah, mine's not even getting a return. It just it keeps like refreshing, like nonstop.
Hmm. Fell to low resource. The server responded with status of 404 not found. Uh, Something's happening with the API. So like the moment I click it, the get request isn't working. Oh, too many requests. There you go. Too many requests. That's okay. I probably can't use a demo key too often. All right, so obviously I'm having issues right now. That's okay. It probably has a limit to how many times you can use a demo key. Now, let's talk about how to actually grab the APOD picture of the day. Looking at here, notice that there is the section of API key. We were told to use the demo key. So there should be a key here that we can add ourselves, and that's the key that you were able to generate. It should have been added to, or it should have been sent to your, what's it called? Your email. I'm gonna go ahead. I'm gonna use. Let me stop sharing real quick. I'm gonna use Alex's API key. I don't want to screw him over, so I'm pausing my share. Let me go ahead and copy that key he sent my way. Um, Actually, to be honest, I'm gonna share anyways. All right, cool. Uh, because you have to see how it looks like. But I mean, you're not gonna be charged for this. It's just, you know, nothing really hurts you.
I sent you the
Uh,
right thing, right?
it should be the same. Yeah, it should be that.
Oh, okay.
So let's go ahead. I'm a hard code it in here. But where the API key should go, obviously you can kind of already guess. Uh, there should be a key that's gonna take that place. So we're gonna go ahead and do some string interpolation. We'll add the key. And let's see if this does something for us. It's not working. Uncaught syntax invalid or unexpected token at line 6. There is something going on with this key. Why? That's weird.
Is it that 3?
Yeah, that's weird. Let me just go ahead. I'm gonna go and create let's say let API key equals, let's leave it there. And I'm going to say API key. There we go. What the heck you sent me? Is this really the picture of the day? Oh, it was the picture of the day. My bad. Yeah. So, okay, the demo key will give us the picture of the day, but it's only limited to how many times we can use it. That makes sense. So here is the picture of the day. Let's go ahead and add that CSS again that it wasn't letting me use earlier. Going back to style.css. Let me see if I can change it. And why does it hate me? Okay. I don't know if I'm actually changing it. What if we do something like border solid 1 pixel black, 20 pixels black. I don't see no pixel. I don't think this is working. My style.css isn't doing what I expected to do. I'm trying to grab image, which is a pod image. Yeah. apod.css. apod border 1 pixel solid or 50 pixels solid black. Height pixels. Yeah, it's not changing it. Why is it not letting me change this? This is really upsetting. Let's see if we can manually adjust this ourselves using the dev tools. Okay. Yeah. Um, that's weird. What if we did something like this, where we're gonna go ahead and put in a div. Class, image container dot image container, and we are going to set the height to 500 pixels, width 500 pixels, border 1 pixel solid black. You see, I don't see it changing. So something's happening with my style.css that's not connected. And that's not good. I don't see nothing on my thing.
You spelled container wrong on your
Did I?
CSS.
Oh, I'm dumb. Don't tell people I can't spell.
Still nothing happening though.
Yeah, that's very frustrating. Why are you not doing what I want you to do? Style.css, link style sheets, href style.css. It shouldn't be source. Yeah, I knew it was href. Why do I doubt myself? Uh, I'm not quite sure what is the issue here. It's not connected, and that's really bugging me. So I'll figure out what the issue is here. But point is, we were able to get the actual part of the lesson today completed, which is generating that APOD. Now, what was the confusion about the API? The takeaway from this exercise isn't really necessarily the code, is being able to work through an API. Because when you guys get to the immersive program and you're done, your personal projects, it's going to be up to you. We do a little bit of hand holding at first, right? We tell you what we expect in regards to assignments, what the final product should look like. But when it comes to personal projects, that is your final assessment. You're going to be told that you will have a certain timeline to create a full stack web application with certain criteria. And what you guys want to do for your final project, it's going to be up to you guys. But what it will need is the usage of two APIs. You will have to use two APIs on your project. We're not going to show you how to use those APIs. You're going to have to go and find two APIs that you want to use for your own personal project. You need to feel comfortable looking through documentation and how to use their services, right? How to be able to ping or make API calls to specific endpoints, right? So get comfortable looking for its, information. Uh, I feel like as military, we're pretty good at that. We like to, say that, if I don't have an answer, I'll find an answer for you. So I think we should be pretty good at that. So make sure you guys feel comfortable navigating through APIs, because it's going to be a part of your assessment to get to APIs. Do you have any questions on the APOD or anything that we have covered through today's lecture? I'm not quite sure what the style.css is doing what it's doing. I'll figure out what's going on, but anything regarding the lecture?
Yeah, so this is my first um class with you guys. So I'm gonna
Sure.
have to watch all the videos from the previous classes. But when is the next class?
Every day, my friend. We
Every
have
day?
class Monday to Friday, from 5:30 to 9.
Okay.
Um, the videos get posted every day. I'm not gonna lie, I've been slacking a little bit, so they've been late. Um, this is my last class that I am teaching. You have not been here, but I've told the other students, we're missing one. But I am, working all day and I come back and have to teach. So I do apologize if I'm not on top of the recordings every single day. But yes, I try to make sure that we have class every single day from 5:30 to 9. Some days might be a little shorter. I think yesterday we cut out like a what 8:15, guys. Some days depending on where we are, if we're at a natural stopping point and we're working on just an exercise and I know it's gonna take a while, we'll stop early. But yeah, we do it every day. Um, it's really, I like to think that it's a little bit more personal, right? It's just you and I. Um, you know, I'm not you're going to be your full-time instructor. I'm just making sure that you have the tools you need to be successful the first couple weeks while you're there. And because we're a much smaller class, if you went through intro to coding with me, that might have seemed a little bit more, I want to say uptight, but more structured. I had specific things that I had to teach every single day, and I was very limited to the questions that I would answer because of the specific curriculum and the nature of the program. But foundations of programming is supposed to be really just that, making sure that you guys have a solid foundation, and I can ask more questions because at this point, for the most part either you have already been accepted into the program or we're waiting for the last like final interview to make sure that you're good to go. But if you made this far, chances are 95% chance you're gonna go through our program. So because of that, I can answer these questions that might have been out of scope if you came through intro to coding with me. But um, yeah, for those of you guys who just showed up today, you can ask Thomas and Alex, specifically Thomas. Thomas hits me up every now and then. If you guys have questions outside of class, I'll answer. I might not answer immediately because I have been busy recently, but I'll try to get with you guys outside of class if you need the help. I'll respond to you when I get a chance. So, I am here for you guys, and any questions that might come up. But Does that answer your question, Missy? I don't even know if you asked a question to BH.
No, that was it. But I am gonna review all the previous materials that I missed.
What do you think so far? What's your take on JavaScript and APIs, or today's lecture, really?
Um, it's very different than Python, so I'm gonna have to like go back to square one. So I'm gonna have to read all the materials.
Yeah, that's okay. All right. Well, Thomas, what do you think now that we went over the APOD? Is it as confusing as you thought initially? What do you think was, what went wrong? What could have done better to help you reach your goal today?
No, just what went wrong initially was just like speaking like a dev to a client. It was like the client wasn't telling me like what they wanted, is what I felt like. As I was trying to ask you like what specifically were you asking? Because there were like a ton of APIs. There was one I was honing in on, and that was this one. But I was just trying to make sure because the link brought us to something different. And I was like, well, I don't want to provide my personal information um, to get an API key if this isn't what you're requesting. You know what I mean? Because there was a library that I could have used an API for and gotten a random image from that. There was a ton of different other things I could have done, all which either required an API key or didn't, and they all had different documentation. So that's the rabbit hole I went down, was which one does he want? Do I have to get an API key because we saw the demo? So I was just kind of stuck in that turmoil area.
Yeah, I mean that's an acceptable response or expected. I should have been a little bit more clear on that. Yeah, most places that you go to get work with the APIs, be prepared. You're gonna have to make an account. They're gonna give you. It's more than just one key. You'll get a secret client key and like a secret key. So you have two different keys that you'll have to use. Depending, like I said, the complexity of the API or how much funding it might have, how big it is, how or useful it is. You might have to pay. You might have to have like a payment method. So you don't have to do that for your final project. There's a lot of free APIs out there that you can leverage. So don't feel like you're gonna have to pay for an API key or account. Don't go down the rabbit hole unless you really want something. But you shouldn't have to come out of pocket out of anything that you do during the course. But just be aware that some of these, yeah, they will make you have to like register at least because they're gonna email you your secret key or your client key. Uh, but yeah, awesome. Well, we're gonna finish off today. Really not really with actually doing anything, but we're gonna talk about what is gonna be kind of like homework and maybe part of class tomorrow, and that's gonna be CRUD applications. This slide is one of the smallest slides that we have, but we're gonna talk about what CRUD is. All right, lesson 6, CRUD apps. CRUD is an acronym that stands for create, read, update, and delete. These are the basic operations that almost every single application out there has. Um, think about Facebook. When you update your status on Facebook, you are creating a status update, right? It creates something in a database. That's part of the C in CRUD, right? So Facebook is a CRUD application. It has CRUD capabilities. It can create new things. The read aspect is the ability to be able to display this data onto your page, or really your browser. Update, you're able to update data in your database using certain kind of interfaces on your application. So like updating your profile name, updating like your address, maybe your bio on Instagram. These are update capabilities, and delete, which pretty self-explanatory. The ability to delete stuff like deleting Facebook posts, deleting your Instagram reels or whatever you want to delete. Uh, these are all a part of CRUD capabilities. Now, these four operations map to the HTTP protocol method stand by. I have to sneeze. I apologize for that. But these methods here, CRUD, map out to the HTTP protocol method that the internet runs on. That it's going to be post, get, put, and delete. Now, you've actually been doing one of these already. That is the get method, right? Up to this point, all these API calls you have been making have been get requests. You have been making requests to a server to get information. The get request is mapped to the R in CRUD, which is reading information and displaying it, right? So up to this point, the requests that you have been making are known as get requests. We're getting information from somewhere, right? From some kind of database. The C in CRUD is mapped out to the term post, right? When you create something new, you're creating a post request, right? So when you create a post request, you're creating something new in your backend, in your database. Think like when you create an account with Instagram, you added your email, your password, your information. This information is going to be put in a request format. The request is a post request, and this gets sent out to Instagram's database or really their servers to create an account in their servers with your information, right? In the background, underneath the hood, Instagram is running a post request with your information to create this user. The other one is going to be the put request. This is going to be your updates, right? So on the Instagram website, when you go ahead, or let's say on your Instagram chats, when you go and update or edit one of your text messages because you had a typo, this puts in some form of a put request to update your chat log, right? And then the leading, well, once again, delete requests. So everything that you do when it comes to interacting with your backend, specifically what we call REST APIs, is going to request you to use one of these methods: post, get, put, and delete. Now, you don't have to get too deep into the weeds of this or kind of go study everything about it. We're just talking about it very briefly. You'll learn more about this in the immersive program. We're going to mimic these actions using CRUD to be able to quote unquote make post requests or get or put and delete to create a CRUD, quote unquote CRUD application. You've been doing this for the most part already, but we're just going to be just talking a little bit more about the concept itself to really understand it. So for this project, we're going to be creating a to-do list. Now, this is very common. Most brand new software developers start with your basic to-do list app or a weather app, right? It's going to be like a stereotype thing, like, brand new developers creating a to-do list app. So we're going to be doing that today. You're going to be mimicking the create aspect of CRUD by being able to create tasks within a to-do list, right? So you should be able to create a website where you have something like this, where you can input the task into an input bar, press add, and it's going to add it to your to-do list on your application. The reading aspect of CRUD is just you being able to display this entire list. Whenever you create something new, it should be able to update it on the current list that you have on your application with the new info, right? So a to-do list needs to-dos that can be read, right? Cool. Next is going to be the update method of CRUD, which is being able to update these to-do tasks. So I should be able to hover over a task and maybe click it, and then it should scratch through the task, signifying that I have completed this task, right? Finally, I should have the ability to delete a task. Notice that there is a trash button. However you want to do this, whether you want to put a button specifically to the right of it and press it to delete it, just be able to delete a task off this current to-do list. Notice that it's not here and now it is. So maybe there should be like a button that says like delete task, which in that point immediately starts like converting every task item with a button that you can delete from. I don't know how you want to do it. It's going to be up to you. It's your world. I'm just living in it. So that's going to be your CRUD task that you guys going to be working on for homework. And once again, re-emphasizing everything that you have you work with pretty much has CRUD capabilities, right? Your WhatsApp chats, right? Being able to delete your WhatsApp chat, delete users from it, update your profile pictures, the group chat picture, group chat name, the the members from your group chats, TikToks. I don't know what this B is, I forget. And Snapchat. If you're my age and still have Snapchat, what are you doing yourself? But Snapchat still does, have trust capabilities, so a good way to explain it. This is a pretty out of context slide I've been meaning to remove. But yeah, so for you guys, your assignment is going to be to create a to-do list, right? So it should mimic something very similar to what you see here on this page. You're going to require to create an HTML document, link the CSS document, as well as the JavaScript. I want you to make it look as close and similar as you can to the slide. If it's not like this, that's fine. At least get the functionality working. This is what we're going to be doing for the rest of today, and then maybe part of tomorrow, so we can really make sure that everyone understands how manipulating like stuff in your DOM works. So there's going to be a lot of independent work tomorrow in the first part of class before we move forward. Actually, the rest of the week is going to be a lot of independent work because we're going to be doing this do list tonight and then a little bit of tomorrow. Once we're complete with do list, the next part is going to be a resume portfolio that we can deploy and have online so you can share it with your potential interviewers. So, yeah. So for you guys who are here today, definitely make sure your install phase is complete and you're able to use VS Code and download the repo. And then try catch up, or I guess be flexible with what we're doing if you want to be able to do the resume portfolio. But yeah, do I have any other further questions in regards to what we are going to be doing for the rest of today's evening or tomorrow?